Dr. Munawar, for outlining the current management of retinoblastoma. So taking the discussion forward, I would like to mention what challenges one might face in the current scenario. The challenge number one is the disease itself. So in this project, which I did when I was with Dr. Shields at Wills Eye Hospital, we studied 554 patients who received chemotherapy over 20 years, right from the beginning of intravenous chemotherapy for the management of retinoblastoma from way back 1994. So over 20-year period, 554 patients had received chemotherapy. And one of the most evident conclusion that was drawn was that the eye salvage rate with just chemotherapy alone in group E eyes was a meager 32%. So group EI, as you can see in this picture, it fills most of the vitreous cavity. And when a tumor is so avascular, there is no scope for treatment with intravenous or intraarterial chemotherapy because the drug delivery to this avascular tumor is very minimal. Group EI can also present as pseudohypopyon, and again, the drug delivery system that is currently available may not deliver enough amount of chemotherapy to this part of the eye. Group EI, again with neovascular glaucoma, which we studied in this particular project, we saw that despite careful management of all these eyes, out of the 37 eyes, only 21 eyes could be, 21 eyes had to undergo secondary enucleation, which is about 60% of the total eyes studied. Group E eyes again can present as this preseptal cellulitis, which when given chemotherapy can turn into a thesical eye where there is no scope for either vision salvage or eye salvage. Number two challenge is when the intraocular retinoblastoma progresses to extraocular retinoblastoma. So orbital retinoblastoma has a multimodal management which involves 12 cycles of high-dose chemotherapy followed by enucleation or exenteration followed by orbital radiotherapy. Now, this is a very prolonged treatment and we need to examine the child at very frequent intervals. Also, this high-dose chemotherapy can cause a very high number of systemic side effects. So then failure to compliance is just one of the problems. But what happens is invariably most of this orbital retinoblastoma can have intracranial extension where not only there is no vision or eye salvage, but even life salvage becomes an issue. Number three challenge in retinoblastoma management is the atypical presentation, most commonly the diffuse anterior retinoblastoma, where in this publication that we did, here we could salvage this eye, but as you can see, it's a very difficult type of the disease to treat. You see that the retina is absolutely clear. There is no retinoblastoma there. And the tumor is confined to the anterior chamber, the angle of the anterior chamber, and delivery of intravenous or intraarterial chemotherapy becomes very problematic. These eyes can be saved by using periocular intravitreal topotecan. However, this again takes very long duration of compliance from the patient side, patients from the doctor's side. Number four challenge is complications of the treatment. As we all know, initially EBRT alone, that is extra beam radiotherapy, was the sole treatment for radiotherapy. However, with the introduction of chemotherapy, this EBRT as the primary treatment has come to an end. However, EBRT is still used in some cases of orbital retinoblastoma or other indications post enucleation. As we see, this data is from long time back when EBRT was the sole treatment. There was a high rate of mortality of up to 30% due to secondary cancers. Not only that, EBRT can also cause contraction of the orbit. And regarding chemotherapy, chemotherapy again comes with its own side effects, starting from systemic the changes in the blood parameters, but as also some second cancers in germline mutation, of which leukemia is one of the most common due to direct toxicity of the chemotherapy into the bone marrow. So this is one such patient who had unfortunately 3 cancers. The child had bilateral retinoblastoma, underwent chemotherapy, underwent orbital radiotherapy, ended up having osteosarcoma, was treated for osteosarcoma, and finally the child presented with soft tissue sarcoma of the cheek. There are also certain complications associated with focal therapy of TTT cryo, where they leave retina, that can be retinal scars, periocular and intravitreal injections, which can cause, theoretically, there can be implantation of seeds in the extraocular part of the eye. And also there can be some perforations if not injected carefully. Intraocular chemotherapy, although very few side effects, it can sometimes cause fibrosis of the ophthalmic artery. And once the ophthalmic artery is fired, of course, there is no salvage of vision. Number 5 challenge is the genetics, as Dr. Honavar already discussed. Although RB1 gene is the only gene that is mutated in retinoblastoma, germline mutation can cause multifocal bilateral retinoblastoma that presents at an early age, is very aggressive, shows a high number of recurrences, and is quite resistant to the usual form of chemotherapy, may sometimes require high dose chemotherapy. So number 6 challenge is the logistics and finance involved in the treatment of retinoblastoma. So although intraarterial chemotherapy is now known to cause high amount of eye salvage in group D and E eyes, it involves a lot of charges, including the cath lab charges, the general anesthesia charges, the chemotherapy charges, and of course, not one cycle is enough. The repetitive cycle just adds to the burden of finance to the family. Now, this is a beautiful article which is yet to be published that we did of impact of COVID-19 nationwide lockdown on retinoblastoma, where we studied 476 eyes of 326 children. Here, we just showed how non-compliance in retinoblastoma can affect the whole disease management. So this is a child in picture A that you see presented with Group E retinoblastoma, who did not follow up for 10 months due to COVID and the nationwide lockdown, who ended up having orbital retinoblastoma, as you see in picture C, and unfortunately, the patient succumbed to the disease. Similarly, yet another child where in picture A, you see a regressed stable retinoblastoma scar, which due to non-compliance and non-follow-up during COVID times led to a huge recurrence, and the child required intraarterial chemotherapy, thus adding to the financial burden. So why this is important in this particular scenario is that since retinoblastoma involves very frequent examination under anesthesia, very frequent injections and chemotherapy and radiotherapy, the duration of the treatment is prolonged. So any disease for that matter, especially retinoblastoma, there's always a need for newer therapy. And from here, I pass on the discussion to Dr. Arka and Dr. Gagan, who have been doing some amazing research in retinoblastoma, and hopefully we will get to see the end of it and some amazing results will work out.